If you can't stay focused for the next 20 minutes on the system that preserved fortunes for 20 generations, you'll return to scrolling junk while your retirement slips away.
Wow. That is a really heavy way to open the door. But honestly, it is completely necessary.
Yeah.
We're living in this time of immense distraction, and financial security requires the one thing most people just can't seem to give right now, which is sustained attention.
Exactly. So, welcome everyone to our deep dive into the 100K blueprint, why your retirement security whispers before it roars.
Today is all about the transition. We are talking directly to you, the listener, who's in that really dangerous middle ground. You've been working for, what, 20 years? You're 45, maybe 50?
You're earning good money.
Right, you're earning well, but you look at the account balance and think, is this it? Shouldn't I be way further ahead by now?
It's that feeling of just running on a treadmill. You're sweating, the effort is incredibly real, but the scenery isn't changing at all. We call this the planting season of wealth. It's the season where you are burying seeds, your dollars basically, into the ground. And the frustrating thing about planting is that for a really long time, the field looks exactly like it did before you started.
Oh, this looks like dirt.
It looks like dirt. And that visual is where people give up. They want the harvest before the seed is even cracked open.
Absolutely.
But before we get into the math, and we do have a very specific mathematical blueprint to cover today, we have to start with the identity switch.
Okay.
Because if you get the math right, but the mindset wrong, you will just end up being a rich person who is completely miserable.
That is so true. The fundamental shift, the one that really bridges the gap between crippling anxiety and actual peace, is confronting what we call the ownership myth.
Right.
Most of us walk around with this heavy, invisible backpack called "it is all up to me." We genuinely believe we're the owners of our bank accounts, the owners of our careers, the owners of our 401ks.
And when you believe you're the owner, you carry the full weight of the market's performance. If the market crashes, you crash.
Exactly. But the biblical reality is radically different. The shift is realizing you actually own 0%. You manage 100% of God's resources.
Yeah.
This is the core concept of stewardship. We are managers, not owners.
I want to push on that for a second, though, because for some listeners, that probably sounds like just a semantic trick. Like, okay, sure, I'm a manager, but I still have to pay the mortgage on Tuesday.
Right, the bills are still there.
Exactly. So how does changing the label actually change the stress level for someone listening right now?
It changes the burden of outcome. See, an owner is completely obsessed with the result. A manager is focused on faithfulness.
Oh, that's good.
If I am managing someone else's money, my job isn't to be the genius who beats the S&P 500 every single quarter. My job is to follow the owner's instructions, which we find clearly laid out in Scripture, and execute them with discipline.
It relieves the pressure of performance.
It really does. It replaces it with the responsibility of faithfulness. You sleep so much better when you realize the macro results are ultimately in the owner's hands, not yours.
Okay, so if our instruction manual is the Bible and our role as manager, we need a system to manage by. We can't just wing it.
No, definitely not.
Which brings us to the only mathematical formula that actually matters for wealth building. It is deceptively simple. Wealth equals earn minus keep plus grow.
Earn minus keep plus grow.
The problem is most people, especially in that high-earning professional bracket we're talking to today, obsess entirely over the earn variable.
You see this all the time. The doctor, the lawyer, the senior manager, they think the solution to their financial anxiety is just another promotion or a bigger year-end bonus.
Just make more money.
Right. But wealth isn't determined by your gross income. It is determined by the efficiency of this system.
Yeah.
You can have a massive earn number, but if your keep variable is 0, your wealth is 0, period.
And this is what we call the middle-class trap. It's particularly dangerous for our listeners who are 45 and older. You feel stable because the cash flow is high, the bills are paid on auto draft, you don't bounce checks.
But you are financially fragile.
Extremely fragile.
You're fragile because of lifestyle inflation. This is the silent killer of the American dream. As your income rose over the last 15 years, your expenses just rose right up to meet it.
You bought the bigger house.
You leased the nicer SUV, the kids went to the more expensive private school or travel sports teams. Suddenly, you need $15,000 a month just to break even.
And that means you aren't actually building wealth. You are just servicing a lifestyle. You're maintaining the machine, but you're not building the future.
Scripture speaks directly to this very human behavior. In Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11, it says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it."
Little by little.
That little by little part is exactly what the middle class trap ignores. We want the lottery win or the crypto spike because we haven't been keeping the little by little surplus.
So to escape the trap, we have to look at habit number 2 from our blueprint, which is plan steadily. Specifically, you need to implement a 3-year cash flow plan.
And we should clarify, this is very different from a standard monthly budget.
Oh, totally different.
A budget tells you where your money went last month. A cash flow plan tells your money where to go for the next 3 years. The goal here is to manufacture a surplus.
That's surplus.
Without a surplus, that literal gap between what you earn and what you spend, you cannot invest. If you consume everything you earn, you have no seed. If you have no seed, you can't plant. And if you can't plant, you never get a harvest.
Which brings us to the title of this deep dive, the 100K blueprint. Why do financial experts, mathematicians, everyone, why do they always fixate on that first $100,000?
Because it is the hardest financial milestone you will ever reach in your life. It is an absolute slog. This is where we have to talk about the whisper.
Break that down for us. What does the whisper mean when we're looking at your portfolio?
Okay, let's do the math on this. Imagine you're starting out, you scrape and you save, and you finally have $10,000 invested. You've sacrificed dinners out, you skipped that nice vacation, and then the market has a great year. It goes up 10%.
Okay.
You excitedly check your account, and you made $1,000.
Which is, it's nice, but it's not life-changing. It barely covers a set of new tires and a car repair.
Exactly. It is completely underwhelming. Your own brute force savings rate is still doing 90% of the heavy lifting. The compounding interest is just whispering. You can barely hear it.
And that's the danger zone.
It's the danger zone where people quit. They look at the massive sacrifice required to save $500 a month versus the $80 return they just got, and they think, this isn't worth it. I might as well just enjoy my money now.
But you have to push through the whisper to get to the roar.
You have to. That's the summer season. We have to look at Proverbs chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest.
For a listener who is 50 or even 55, right now is your late summer.
It absolutely is. And notice, the ant doesn't have a boss screaming at her to work. She has foresight. She knows winter is coming. For us, retirement is the winter. The goal right now isn't immediate consumption. It is storing that surplus.
Because once you cross the $100,000 mark, the math physically changes.
It really does. At $100K, a 10% return is $10,000. Now your money just earned you a nice used car without you lifting a finger.
And as it grows to 300K or 500K, suddenly a good year in the market is earning more than you do at your actual job.
That is the roar. That is the exponential phase of retirement. Your money becomes an employee that works 24/7, it never gets sick, and it never asks for a vacation.
I love that.
But you cannot get the employee to work if you don't survive the training period. You have to survive the whisper.
Now, let's get super tactical here. You've got the surplus, you are committed to the long haul. Where do you actually put the money? Because the standard run-of-the-mill advice is usually just go buy a target date mutual fund. But our blueprint suggests a much more robust historical framework. We call it the Solomon system.
Yes, this is directly based on Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 2. Give a portion to 7, or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth.
You know not what disaster may happen. That sounds like a headline from today's news cycle.
It's eternal wisdom because human nature and global instability don't change. We are not omniscient. We don't know if inflation will spike next year, if the dollar will weaken, or if the stock market will tank.
Right.
So the Solomon system, which mirrors historical Jewish wealth preservation strategies, uses the 33% rule. It creates a tripod of stability.
Walk us through those 3 buckets.
The first 33% is land, real estate.
Hang on, though. For the average person listening on their commute, buying land sounds completely impossible. They can't just go out and buy an apartment complex or a 200-acre farm. Is this advice only for the ultra-wealthy?
That is a great question, and no, it is not. In the modern world, land doesn't have to mean you become a stressed-out landlord fixing toilets at midnight.
Thank goodness.
We have tools today, like REITs, real estate investment trusts. Think of it like buying stock in a massive company that owns the real estate for you.
Mm.
You get all the benefits of real estate, the rent collection, the property appreciation, the inflation hedging, without needing millions of dollars or a tool belt. It provides tangible stability.
Okay, that makes it very accessible. So what is the second 33%?
Business. This is your core growth engine. For most of us, this is the stock market, specifically low-cost index funds, or maybe owning your own small business. You are buying a slice of the biggest, most profitable companies in the world.
The ones driving innovation.
Exactly. This is the part of your portfolio that is explicitly designed to outpace inflation and aggressively grow the wealth over decades.
And the final 33%.
Liquidity. Cash, gold, or short-term equivalents.
Okay, I can hear the objections already from the finance nerds listening.
Yeah.
Cash. With inflation at 3, 4, 5%, isn't that just losing money safely?
It is losing purchasing power, yes. That is a mathematical fact.
Yeah.
But you don't hold liquidity for growth. You hold it for insurance and opportunity.
Explain that.
Historically, Jewish families facing intense persecution needed wealth they could move quickly. But even without the threat of persecution, liquidity allows you to be anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile.
Right. When the market crashes and everyone else is panic selling their stocks at the bottom because they desperately need cash to pay their bills, you don't have to sell.
Because you have the liquidity.
Exactly. In fact, you can buy their assets at a massive discount because you held that 33% liquidity. It prevents total ruin.
It's really the difference between maximizing return and maximizing survival.
Precisely. And in retirement, survival is always the priority.
However, there is a massive chain around the ankle that prevents most people from ever even starting this Solomon system. You can't build this portfolio if you are drowning in monthly payments. We have to talk about debt.
Debt is the absolute enemy of the surplus.
Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7 is our anchor here. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender.
We really need to sit with that specific word, slave. Because in the original Hebrew, the word is ebed.
Ebed.
Yes. It isn't a loose metaphor for feeling a bit stressed about your bills. It literally means a bondservant owned by another person.
Wow. When you look at it that way, your car payment looks entirely different.
It changes the power dynamic entirely. When you have debt, you do not own your future labor. Your lender owns your Monday, your Tuesday, and your Wednesday. You are working today to pay for consumption choices you made 3 years ago.
You're working for the past.
You cannot be free to steward God's resources if those resources are already legally spoken for by the bank.
So, habit 4 from the blueprint is neutralize. We aren't saying you have to miraculously pay off your entire 30-year mortgage tomorrow, but what is the immediate action step?
The challenge is to pick one specific debt this month. Maybe it's that credit card balance that's been lingering since Christmas, or the last 6 months of a car note. Focus all your financial firepower on it. Neutralize it.
Reclaim the ground. Reclaim that monthly cash flow. Because every single dollar of debt payment is a dollar that isn't working for you in the Solomon system.
But, and here is where the rubber really meets the road, why do we have the debt in the first place? We can talk math and interest rates all day, but usually debt is a symptom of something much deeper. We call it the contentment glitch.
This is the heart issue, and it's so critical. You can give a man $1 million, but if he has the contentment glitch, he will be broke again in 5 years. The scripture here is 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 10. Godliness with contentment is great gain.
Now, be careful here. I think contentment is one of the most misunderstood words in the modern church. It often gets framed as just passive laziness, like, oh, I should just be happy with being broke and not try to improve my family's situation.
No, absolutely not. Biblical contentment is not a lack of ambition or lack of hard work. It is a spiritual discipline that prevents the snare.
The snare.
The text clearly warns that those who desire to be rich fall into a snare.
Yeah.
In modern behavioral finance, we call this the hedonic treadmill.
Yep. You get the raise at work, so you immediately buy the boat. The excitement of the boat wears off in about 3 months, but the payments last for 10 years. Now you are stressed again, so you need another raise just to stay afloat.
You're running faster and faster just to stay in the exact same place.
Exactly. Contentment breaks that cycle. It is the spiritual ability to say, I have enough. It reshapes your needs so you aren't just chasing the wind. If you are deeply content with your current lifestyle, every extra dollar you earn from that promotion becomes surplus. It becomes seed for the harvest.
But if you aren't content,
every extra dollar just gets consumed by a new artificial need.
So contentment is actually a financial superpower. It permanently lowers your keep threshold.
It really is. It's the only thing that closes the loop on the wealth formula.
And as we close the loop today, we have to look at the final destination. Why are we doing all of this? Why are we scraping for the surplus, surviving the whisper phase, diversifying the portfolio? Is it just so we can play golf in Florida when we're 65?
If your vision stops at the golf course, it is way too small. The biblical goal of the grow phase is legacy.
Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
Children's children, that's the grandchildren.
Generational.
That requires thinking 2 entire generations ahead. This brings us all the way back to the tree planting metaphor we started the show with. You don't plant a giant oak tree for yourself. You won't live long enough to enjoy the full shade of that oak. You plant it for the ones who come after you.
That reframes the sacrifice completely. Surviving the whisper phase isn't just about you being financially comfortable. It's about changing the entire trajectory of your family line.
It's about passing down not just the money, because frankly, money without wisdom is incredibly dangerous, but passing down the habits, the stewardship mindset, breaking the cycle of debt so your grandkids start their lives at the starting line, not 10 yards behind it in bondage.
So let's recap. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We have 7 practical habits woven through this entire discussion. Let's list them out quickly.
Sure. 1, pursue wisdom. Don't just guess or follow the financial crowd.
Yep.
2, plan steadily, create that 3-year cash flow plan to force a surplus. 3, steward faithfully, always remembering the owner versus manager distinction.
That's the identity switch.
4, reduce debt, breaking the eBud relationship with the lender. 5, diversify using the Solomon 33% rule. 6, cultivate contentment, avoiding the snare of always needing more. And 7, plan for legacy, thinking specifically about the grandchildren.
It is a comprehensive system.
Yeah.
And frankly, looking at all 7, it can feel a bit overwhelming. So for the listener who is driving to work right now, what is the one move? The sources suggest picking just one single habit to focus on this week.
Just one. Please don't try to overhaul your entire financial life by this Friday.
It'll just burn out.
Right. Maybe for you, the one step is doing an estate check that falls under habit 7. Go look at your will or your beneficiary designations on your accounts. Are they even accurate?
Good.
Or maybe it's starting a daily gratitude practice to fight the I need more impulse that's building contentment. Or maybe it's simply automating a transfer of $100 to a separate account to finally start building that surplus.
Just start the whisper.
Just start the whisper. Do the right thing for a long time and God will handle the harvest.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought on what I call the ROI of life. The world measures return on investment purely in percentages. It's always about beating the market, beating the S&P 500. But the biblical return is measured entirely differently.
It is. It's measured in profound peace. It's measured in purpose. And ultimately, it's measured in an eternal inheritance that markets cannot touch, rust cannot destroy, and thieves cannot break in and steal.
That is the ultimate retirement security.
It really is. And of course, we have to say it before we go. Remember, this discussion is meant to share biblical wisdom and practical habits. It is not personalized financial advice. Please consult a qualified professional for complex decisions regarding your specific situation.
Absolutely. Go steward those blessings well. We will see you in the next deep dive.